Okay, I'm going to try to get through a summary of this without tangents, and then we'll talk about Destiny Lovers. Alright, today we're talking about Destiny Lovers Volume 1 through 4. The plot, if you can call it that. So, Destiny Lovers starts with our main lead. He's been kidnapped, and he's in a chair in a dark room. Girl comes in. Girl tries to have sex with him. But he's a virgin and promised a girl when he was younger that she'd be his first. He resists with all his might, and just before she tries to do the deed, she gets called away, and there's like some emergency at the facility he's being held in, and so, alright, he's safe for now. Gets thrown into a cell, 4 other dudes. All these dudes, they happen to be virgins. And so, turns out, their captors, 5 girls. They're holding them against their will, and they've all been kidnapped. Now, for reasons unknown, and that is really important, and we're going to get back to that, these girls are hell-bent on taking these men's virginities. Now, we don't know why, but they want to unvirgify them. They're all virgins, and they are hell-bent on not making them virgins anymore. Now, in the first volume here, they stage a bit of an escape. They're like, what the fuck is going on? This is weird. So they escape. Half the group comes across one of their captors, this sexy dominatrix type lady, and she just murks a guy. He, I don't know, escaped from somewhere, and she just full on shoots him in the head. And all of a sudden, we're not a comedy manga anymore, but we'll get back to that. Guy meets up with one of the girls that's holding them. Turns out, that's his childhood friend. She's the one I promised to be my first. What is she doing here? She tells him, no matter what, do not lose your virginity, or I don't know if she tells him he'll die if he does, but that's the implication, and it also gets said later on. So, she's like, don't lose your virginity, no matter what, you'll be killed. Again, okay, so we're not a comedy anymore. We'll get back to that. So we move into volume 2, where it's now like a full frontal assault on these guys. They're being held captive, they're under surveillance, and the girls are, just plotting ways to make them lose their virginity. Because though our main lead has told the other guys, hey, look, something's going on here. We have to not lose our virginity at all costs. Some shenanigans happen. This book mostly focuses on like some overnight thing where they've been brought up to peak like potent male like against their knowing, and so they've all got hard-ons. The girls come in, they killed the heat, everyone's cold, they all pair off, and so comedy ensues about the guys trying to resist the first night, and again our female that's the warden, who's part of the, I don't know, evil chicks holding them, is like, you have one chance, you need to masturbate. Because there's signs that are like, don't masturbation. So they're like, okay, the guys, new plan. We have to masturbate without them finding out. I'm like, okay, so we're a comedy now? I think? We'll get back to that. And so most of this volume is around the guys trying to masturbate without the girls finding out. Basically, they do, and it foils the girls' plan for that night, and, that's where that goes. Volume 3. This is where I'm dying at this point. Volume 3 is easily the worst volume. It's infuriating. At this point, the guys know that the girls are trying to, like, kill them. And so they aren't really acting like it. And the book's like, we're a funny comedy about girls trying to, like, get these virgins to lose their virginity. But they're also just straight up going to kill them. And one of the girls like tells them this straight up, but they're like playing games, and it doesn't really make any sense anymore, because why would you go along with their plan if you saw them kill a guy earlier, and now they basically straight up told you that, yeah, once we get your jollies off, we're gonna shoot you. But let's also play this haunted maze game in this volume. And then they like play some other games. They pit them against each other to try and get some of them to break. I won't spoil too much of that because that gets into like actual spoilers on what happens later on. Then you finally get to volume 4. So up till volume 4, you don't know why they've been held captive. You don't know who these girls are. You don't know why they're trying to take their virginity. And you don't know why they want to kill them afterwards. This is a problem. In volume 4, you finally get that information. After another nonsensical, like game that they're trying to play, and then shit really goes sideways, and then you get some really dark shit from one of the guy characters. That just sort of leads eventually to like us finding out the plot. And why the girls are doing this, why they're being held captive, what happened to the rest of the world, because there's like little hints here and there that some like serious like apocalypse has happened from the beginning of the book where everything was fine to what seems like it only have been like a week and like the world has like ended. And so again, book 4, you finally get plot. Okay, let's talk about it. My brain was rotting out of my skull reading the first 3 volumes of Destiny Lovers. It's honestly infuriating. I've never been so frustrated reading manga, I think, in my life. Here's why. The book has no idea whatsoever what it's trying to be. Because originally you think it's kind of got prison school type vibes. These guys are being held captive by these girls. But there's a critical issue. The manga is trying to tell you this is serious. Or, like, the way the book is going makes you go, this has to be serious, and it can't really be funny. And so the first book isn't really funny at all, but you just kind of assume that it's supposed to be. Like, I thought, okay, the plot about them killing the guys after they lose their virginity is probably like a misunderstanding of some sort. And you're going to go through this whole series and, you know, you'll end up finding out that, haha, you know, you could have just lost your virginity and it would have been fine. Why are you resisting so hard? No. As like along the first 3 books, like most of the female cast are awful people. They're awful people. You don't like them. And there's no reason to root for them whatsoever, and you don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. 2 of the girls are more fine, but the 3 girls really spoil the whole bunch, and it makes it really frustrating to read. Especially because there are like flashbacks you get. I think this is also in volume 3, which is was so bad. Of like it goes back and like shows you like maybe like the first guy they got. And he was separate, and they get him, and just like happened in the first volume, but wasn't completed, they get him, they coerce him, they finally, you know, basically ride him, get him lose his virginity, he finishes, she climbs up on top, and he goes, okay, so what's going on? Bang. So this isn't comedy, like this isn't funny, like this is supposed to be life or death, serious, but then, haha, we're playing funny games, to like make you lose your virginity, haha, this is funny. But then, oh, we're not funny, I'm gonna like just like scream at you and be like, I'm gonna kill you afterwards. And so the book has no idea what it wants to be. It has absolutely no idea if it wants to be a comedy or wants to be serious. Because the problem is it's trying to be both, but it can't. You can't have funny plot where females kidnap virgins and try to unvirgify them. Funny plot. The girls are really mean, really unlikable, and are just going to kill the guys once they get them to blow. Not funny. Funny, not funny. The story, now it doesn't make any sense. And so, what could have saved these books is the plot you get in volume 4. Where you finally find out what the girls are doing and why they're doing it. It would have just made everything more tolerable. But the other problem is once you get the plot, the girls change. The book decides, okay, we're gonna make the girls likable now. Because now you know what they're doing, all of a sudden they aren't going to act so awful. They aren't going to act like these manipulative, awful people that are just trying to kill, frankly, rather likable male characters. For the most part, like the male characters seem rather interesting. And so the book just doesn't work. It was really just an incredibly frustrating reading experience for the first 3 volumes. And the fourth volume doesn't help that much, but it does help. Like, you desperately had to have what's in volume 4, because the problem the book's going to have, and maybe this is just me, because I bought the first 4 volumes. I never would have bought any more volumes past volumes 1 or 2 if that was all I had bought at the time. Like, there's no way. Because up till that point, I'm like, man, the girls aren't likable. I don't understand what they're doing. The book isn't funny, but it's got a comedy plot. I really just don't know where to go with it. Now, saying all that, there are apparently only 4 more volumes. I might have to get them to find out what happens, because it can't be good. Like, there's no saving the nonsense that the books are, because the end of book 4 like changes the paradigm. Like, there's a big switch up at the end of volume 4 after you find out the plot. It kind of blows up everything that the first like 4 volumes was doing, and it looks like it's going to change everything now to try to be something at least a little different. So who knows what actually happens? And don't get me wrong, the art in the books is fantastic. It's super sexy. The girls look amazing, and you've got to like realize, like, the books are basically, I don't even know if you could say softcore hentai. It's basically straight up hentai. I mean, you've got, yeah, because, not to try to spoil stuff, but there is like sex that happens, and it shows basically everything. The girls are constantly naked. People are constantly getting felt up, sucked on, nipple twisted. I mean, it is the whole 9 yards for sure. But the problem is, I couldn't enjoy any of it. Like, the girls were so unlikable, and there was no understanding to why they were doing anything they were doing. Like, I wasn't enjoying any of the hot, steamy, sexy bits of the story, because I didn't like any of the female cast. Like I said, a couple of them are fine, but they're all trying to do the same thing, so it doesn't make that much of a difference. I'm like, man, you're just kind of awful people. And it almost gets worse in volume 4, because then I'm like, you didn't need to be. You didn't need to be so awful. Like, why didn't you just tell them? Like, the story would have worked fine if the guys knew what was going on. If you went, look outside, this is what's happening. Little spoiler, this is what's wrong with you. So, yeah, because none of it is the guy's fault. Like, they're all innocent. You know, I say all, if you happen to read this, they're all innocent. But if you've read the books, you go, damn, okay, so they're victims, but the girls treat them like shit. Like, the time it shows them kill that one guy in book 3, it started to make them unredeemable for me. Because I went, okay, so knowing what I know about why you're doing it, that still makes no sense why you're so awful. And why you like were just so cold and heartless. Like, you could have done what you did to the guy and been like, I'm so sorry. We now have to kill you. I wish there was another way, but this is like for humanity's sake. This is why. But they don't tell them that. They just kill them and go, and like, oh man, they just trash. I'm like, oh wow. It just makes you look like awful people and awful characters. So, Destiny Lovers, volumes 1 through 4. I didn't really enjoy him for the most part. The art is phenomenal. If you just want to see some titties and a lot of like basically hentai, I mean, go for it. I couldn't enjoy any of that just because the books are so insistent that it has a plot. And since it does that and does it poorly, it just, or not even poorly, awful, like does it a terrible job at it, it makes it really, it just makes it so I can't enjoy it very much. I did enjoy several of the male characters. Two or three of them were pretty funny. Some of the female characters were fine. But that's about it as far as that goes. So, yeah. So that's Destiny Lovers for you. One quick aside. Volume 3 was printed on, like, higher quality paper. Like, the other volumes are normal manga printing paper that you'll see on anything. You can actually kind of see how much whiter it is. It's, like, better quality paper, better image quality. I don't understand why. I don't know. Like, the other volumes aren't. Maybe Ghost Ship is switching to, like, being printed in higher quality stuff, but the other ones were printed before, but volume 4 isn't, so I don't really know. I don't really understand. But, yeah, that's Destiny Lovers. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I had to get that off my chest because I read all these in one sitting. I was documenting it on Twitter as I went because my brain was just neurons were deactivating. I was going to fight or flight mode. It was not a great time. And so, yeah, I don't know. I can't really recommend these other than if you just want like the amazing drawings, because the drawings are amazing. Like it's really sexy. They look great. I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with that if that's all you really want the books for. But it's no prison school by any means. And I can't say, if there weren't just 4 volumes left, like if I only bought 2 volumes, I never would have bought any more. Now that I've read these 2, I almost feel like I need to finish this quest. Like I need to finish this journey and read and be able to say I read Destiny Lovers in its entirety. So we'll see. Anyway, guys, I'm done. Bye-bye.